For thousands of years, nations fought over land, mountains, rivers, oceans, borders. Empires rose by capturing territory and fell when they could no longer protect it. But in the 21st century, a new form of territory quietly replaced land: data. And unlike land, data doesn't require armies, weapons, or political negotiations. It only requires access. Access to your phone, your habits, your identity, your patterns, your secrets. This is the story of an empire built without a single war. Today, tech companies collect more information about individuals than any government in human history. Your interests, fears, medical symptoms, financial stress, sleeping habits, route maps, voice recordings, and even micro-expressions are stored, analyzed, and transformed into power. This power isn't visible on a map, but it is far more influential than any traditional territory. Whoever controls the data controls the behavior. And whoever controls behavior controls the world. Countries still fight for land, but corporations fight for something more valuable: attention. Every second you scroll, every notification you respond to, every ad you pause, it gives these companies a deeper claim over you. They are not conquering countries. They are colonizing human consciousness. Unlike classical colonies, today's colonies are invisible. They exist in servers, algorithms, and digital infrastructures that follow you everywhere: in your pocket, on your wrist, in your car, inside your home. They track, they predict, and eventually, they influence. Not through force, but through familiarity. Not through fear, but through convenience. In this new empire, nations don't control their citizens, tech giants do. And while governments still draw borders on paper maps, the real borders of power are drawn in databases. Land used to be the ultimate resource. Now, data is the new continent, and we are all living inside digital colonies without realizing it. In the past, populations were governed by leaders you could see: presidents, kings, prime ministers, ministers sitting in parliaments. Their power came from laws, institutions, and visible authority. But today, the most powerful governors are not human. They are algorithms, invisible, unregulated, and often unaccountable systems that influence billions of people simultaneously. Every day, algorithms decide what you see, what you don't, what you believe, how you behave, and even what you desire. These systems determine your news feed, your recommendations, your search results, your opportunities. In other words, they quietly shape your reality. Slowly, they have become the digital governors of modern society. Unlike human rulers, algorithmic governors don't ask for your vote. They don't debate policies. They don't publish their intentions. They operate silently, learning from your every action and adjusting their power in real time. They know your psychological vulnerabilities better than you do: which buttons create fear, which images create desire, which words can shift your opinion within seconds. This is not governance through laws. It is governance through prediction. When billions of people rely on a handful of platforms for communication, connection, entertainment, shopping, navigation, news, and even emotional validation, those platforms effectively rule populations. If a company can control what an entire nation sees on their screens, it can control what that nation thinks, trusts, fears, and supports. It can accelerate movements, crush dissent, manipulate elections, and reshape cultural norms, all without a single soldier, speech, or political party. These algorithmic governors don't operate in one country. They govern across borders. They influence societies as if the entire world is one giant territory under their control. Governments might create laws, but algorithms create behavior. And in this silent takeover, tech companies have become the real rulers, governing not countries, but human minds. In traditional empires, power came from controlling land, minerals, and labor. Whoever owned physical resources controlled the world. But in the 21st century, a new empire has risen, one built not on land or gold, but on data. Today, your clicks, your emotions, your conversations, your searches, your location, your habits, and even your private thoughts have become the most valuable commodity on Earth. Every time you scroll your phone, speak near a device, shop online, watch a video, or simply walk with your GPS turned on, you are generating a constant stream of data. And this data is harvested, stored, analyzed, weaponized, and monetized by tech giants on an unimaginable scale. You don't pay them with money. You pay them with your life. This is digital resource extraction, but unlike the extraction of oil or coal, which requires drilling, machinery, and labor, extracting your data requires nothing from the companies. You willingly surrender it, often without realizing it. They don't need to force you. Their apps are designed so perfectly, so addictively, that you give them everything voluntarily. Your personal data becomes their raw material. From this raw material, they create extremely detailed behavioral profiles, maps of your mind, personality, fears, desires, biases, relationships, and vulnerabilities. These profiles can predict what you will buy, how you will vote, who you will love, when you will panic, and what will keep you addicted. They know when you are lonely, when you are angry, when you are likely to make impulsive decisions, and when you are emotionally weak. No empire in history ever had such intimate control over its subjects. The more data they extract, the more powerful they become, turning entire nations into data colonies, where people are not citizens but resources, and every moment of life is quietly mined for profit and influence. In the New World Order, the empire doesn't conquer land, it conquers you. For most of history, nations relied on armies, alliances, and natural resources to survive. But in the modern age, countries depend on something far more fragile: technology infrastructure controlled by private corporations. This quiet dependency has created a new geopolitical reality. Governments are no longer the strongest powers within their borders. The real power lies with the tech giants who run the digital backbone of the nation. Think about it carefully. Today, everything is connected to digital networks: electricity grids, banking systems, transportation, communication, national security, elections, healthcare, education, even military operations. But how many of these systems are owned or controlled by the government? Almost none. Cloud servers belong to corporations. Digital IDs are managed by private platforms. Critical data is stored in corporate vaults. Artificial intelligence tools are built and controlled by tech companies, not states. Even government websites depend on private infrastructure. This means that countries function only as long as tech giants allow them to. A single server outage can shut down hospitals, airports, and payment systems. A single algorithm update can affect millions of businesses. A single policy change by a corporation can disrupt national politics. When nations rely on private companies for essential digital infrastructure, those companies quietly become more powerful than governments. They set the rules. They decide what is allowed. They determine what information flows through society. They can influence elections, shape public opinion, or even destabilize a country, all without firing a single bullet. This is the silent takeover. Countries are no longer sovereign in the digital age. They are dependent colonies, tied to platforms they cannot control and technologies they did not create. And the tech giants, sitting in their glass headquarters, hold the power once reserved for kings, emperors, and superpowers. In the new hierarchy of global power, nations are not at the top. Tech empires are. Imagine waking up in a world where your value isn't based on your skills, your job, or your achievements, but on the data you generate. Every movement, every purchase, every message, every emotion becomes a tiny packet of profit for a corporation you've never met. This is the future many experts warn we're rapidly heading toward: a future of digital serfdom. In ancient feudal systems, peasants worked the land and gave a portion of their harvest to the lords who owned everything. Today, the land is digital, and tech companies own nearly all of it. Social media platforms, search engines, cloud storage, online identity systems, payment apps, navigation tools, everything you depend on is controlled by someone else. And just like peasants who couldn't survive without the Lord's land, modern citizens cannot function without digital platforms. You need them to work. You need them to communicate. You need them to access money. You need them to exist in the modern world. But while you live your life, these platforms quietly extract value from every click, swipe, pause, and scroll. You create wealth, they collect it. You generate data, they own it. You depend on their systems, they depend on your obedience. This is the new social order, a world where citizens are not users, but resources. A world where personal freedom is swapped for convenience. A world where tech giants become the new landlords, and humanity becomes the workforce feeding their endless hunger for data. Digital serfdom isn't science fiction. It's already here, just hidden behind apps, terms and conditions, and glowing screens.